One of the most common tools for discourse when conducting online classes is the threaded discussion forum. We find it, for example, in P2PU courses. Here's a course in digital journalism from summer 2010, and we see a discussion that is basically just a flow of text where you see a bit of indentation, means that something is an answer to another post. Here you see the massive open online course on personal learning environments, and one of the last discussions here with more than 50 replies is similarly this massive amount of text. This is a part of the IDC mailing list, which was doing a very interesting discussion about open education. In this case, we only see the titles, so the structure of the replies comes out much more clearly, but again, it's organized purely by chronology. So one of the principles behind Knowledge Forum, the tool I will show you tonight, is to take those great ideas that come out, but that are hidden behind these walls of text, to take those ideas and bring them out, and to enable this idea-centric, sustained discourse that can lead to knowledge creation. By letting us highlight those ideas, improve upon them, and organize them visually, it enables us to think more deeply, both as an individual and as a group. And I'm going to show you quickly how the tool works, first of all, and then I will give you an overview of a class that I took here at the University of Toronto. Let's say we were a primary school class that wanted to find out why leaves change color in the fall. I will start a new node here. So I add in a problem statement and I give a bit of a description. And now I'll submit it. And you'll see we have a new node here. And in Knowledge Forum, nodes can be placed anywhere on the page, so I can drag it around. And I can now open it. And if someone else has an idea, they might build upon this. So if you look on the side here, you'll see a number of hints or scaffolds, as we call them. They're little tools that help you think deeper about your problem. So for example, our friend could have a theory. You just click here, and all it does is insert that text, but it forces you to think in different ways about the problem. So here's a proposal from this other classmate that leaves change color because they cannot get enough nutrition in winter to sustain the green color. So we'll submit this. And we now have two nodes. I'll add another theory, so I'll open the original node again and I'll build upon it. So here's a completely different theory, that the green color cannot withstand cold and dies in winter. So we'll submit this again. And you see here that we have the original node and we have these two build-ons, two different theories. Now the neat thing about this is that you can continue to build on each of these. You can have a whole discussion around each of these, probing that idea more and more deeply. The idea doesn't just get lost because it was early on in the discussion, and we can move them around, we can show them in the way we want. So somebody might say that this green color cannot stand cold theory doesn't really stand scrutiny. So this theory doesn't really explain why my jacket, which is green, doesn't change color in winter. So this can't be the case. It must be something else. And here you see the nodes and you see the tree kind of slowly forming. In addition to adding nodes, we can also add some simple graphics just to set up our knowledge space here. And we can even insert some graphics. So here's just a simple example of how we could format this view. So that was a really quick introduction to the tools. There's actually a lot of other tools I didn't show you, but I think already it gives you a little bit of an idea. And now we will look at some actual views that were used in my class and look at how this can actually enable much more interesting discussion centered around ideas than the traditional threaded discussion forums. This is the welcoming view 2 years ago when I started my course on a knowledge creating society. And as you see, the teacher had already pre-populated the view. It was actually built around a book that she was writing, so she had a view for each chapter. And if you went into one of the chapters, she split them into individual little chunks just to enable us to discuss those chunks individually. And she intended for us to post build-ons that we could organize under each chunk here. Now, of course, once we started discussing this, grew very rapidly, and so the first view, when it was, if you look back at it after 4 months of work, it looks quite different and quite chaotic. You find it hard to even see some of the nodes here, but you could, of course, lay this out as just a list of posts, and Knowledge Forum actually enables that as well. But as you see, you just lose all the richness of this discussion if you display the nodes like this. If you display them as icons, you can still follow the different threads that have emerged here. So that was the first thing that the professor did, was to enable us to really have these interesting discussions from the points that came out of each chapter. Anyone can create a new view in Knowledge Forum. So if you look at the welcoming screen as it developed, it also changed quite significantly. We added a water cooler just to have a place to chat socially. We had our brief bios. We had a view for technical issues because, of course, the software is a work in progress, and so we wanted to be able to record that. The most interesting thing to me was that after we'd read through this book and we'd gathered so much data, so much ideas, as you saw in the quite chaotic view, we wanted to take the best ideas and bring them out, because so far it was still chronological in the sense that ideas were tied to the specific chunks from the book based on chapter 1, chapter 2. But there were some ideas that came out of this that really pervaded throughout the book. And in a normal threaded discussion forum, this is where it would have ended. We would have had our discussion, and very often these courses are organized with a discussion forum for each week. And although you might not be reading a chapter of a book, there'll be some kind of a input, whether that is the teacher's lecture or the readings for that week, or whatever input there is, whatever stimuli that people kind of react to. And so you have a discussion around that. But you never are able to capture those ideas that might be even recurrent throughout the weeks of the course, and to discuss those more fully. So what we did was that we created a number of topical views, and we went through and took responsibility for different topics, which you'll see here in the topical rise aboves. And we went through the chapters and looked at the views the notes that we have written. And it's actually very easy in Knowledge Forum to copy and to move and to these nodes, so we were able to collect them. So if you go, for example, here into the node about higher education, you can see that I've gathered the most important nodes around higher education. And when you see all of those in the same place, it's much easier for you to actually see, okay, here are some of the overarching topics that came out through the book. Here are some of the questions that we asked ourselves. Here are the gaps in our knowledge. Here is what we need to know, and we can start to do some collaborative knowledge work on that. And to me, that is one of the real strengths of a Knowledge Forum, is that once you put an idea into the system, it isn't fixed in its chronological or whatever order or space. You can work on it, you can improve it, you can move it. As your knowledge advances, that idea goes with you. At the end, we also created individual portfolios, which were intended to highlight our state of knowledge after having gone through this course. And that was also one of the things that the teacher used when evaluating us. So if we look, for example, at Miva's portfolio, we'll see that she has used the graphical interface to her advantage. So she highlights the collective goal, and she has chosen 4 different guiding questions, and then for each guiding question, she's collected notes written by both herself and by others to show her understanding of that goal. And we see here also that it's a very highly structured and nice kind of a takeaway, and this is also something that the student can come back to as their learning progresses, and they really represent the state of knowledge that they reached after going through this course. And it's also a way for to share that state of knowledge with other students.